everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Experiences with Displacement track. We are here to hear the stories of 4 incredible speakers that will share their experiences with displacement. Today we have Lai with us, who will moderate the session. If you could proceed from here.
Thanks, Sonia. Welcome, everyone, 2023. I cannot believe how fast time flies. I'm Lai Sonia. I'll be moderating the panel today. My background, as most of my colleagues here would know, and for those who do not, my background is in international protection, migration, and humanitarian innovation, which is pretty much exciting considering the panel that we have today. The Migration Summit 2023 is organized by the MIT Refugee Reaction Hub, REACT, and NAMAL, and the Karam Foundation. It's a month-long global convening designed to build bridges between diverse communities of displaced learners, universities, companies, social enterprises, policymakers, employers, governments, and everybody else really that's up to attempting the key challenges and opportunities for refugees and migrant communities. This year, we are focusing on co-creating pathways for learning, livelihood, and dignity through a host of virtual events with participating partners around the world. It's a mouthful. There's so much going on. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I really think, the experiences with displacement panel is one not to miss. I guess you're here. Tell somebody to tell somebody to log on. In this panel, we will hear from 4 very super duper incredible speakers who will share with us their experiences regarding displacement. You will learn about their important work that these people have done for the betterment of their communities. And also you will get to know about the challenges they face on a day-to-day reality basis. At the end of their stories, we will open up the floor to the audience for question and answer session, and you will be able to address questions either individually or each of the speakers would speak collectively, either individually or collectively. The speakers will address your questions. For the audience, make sure you write your questions in the chat below and make sure you address them to the speaker you would prefer to take on your question. Given that speakers share stories from personal experiences as well, we would just like to basically express that everyone be respectful of their perspectives. Therefore, inappropriate questions will not be addressed in the Q&A. And if you're asking any inappropriate cues out loud, we will mute you and we will inevitably remove you from the call. All right, moving straight in. Our first speaker, Fiston, who is a super duper highly educated individual with supreme passion for his community, well focused on community development and social entrepreneurship. He holds a secondary school diploma from his home country and has completed various courses in the meantime in Uganda. Fiston has extensive experience in community-based organizations and not-profits, working to improve the livelihoods of refugees locally and marginalized communities. He is a super skilled storyteller, presenter, and certified at Play, Perform, Learn, and Grow. Love that. He has spoken at many various events, and now, of course, including MIT today. He is working with the Loop Center Incorporated on a project to promote the connection among and between organizations and individuals within the education sector, with a specific focus on supporting and promoting alternative education and appropriate know-how. I think that's just 2 keywords there: alternative education and appropriate know-how. Love that, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from Fiston. I think there's a recording that I will I expect us to play now.
My name is Fiston Muganda. I'm 22 years, originally born in DRC, DR Congo. and currently living in Uganda as a refugee. I've been here for about 9 years now. And the reason why I'm a refugee, unlike other reasons why people actually flee their countries, there's so much going on with my particular country, which is the DRC. Apart from political, insecurity, there's cultural, ethnical, insecurities. There is famine, poverty, whatever. We talk about this, and of course, this is what pushed me to find refuge in the camp. And as we all know, coming in the camp, we expect to live the difference. We expect peace. We expect well-being, which is not actually guaranteed in the camp if we look at things at the fact and the matter of fact of how people are living. So on my journey, it was hard for me trying to transit from life as a refugee to life as an activist. So it took me time transcending these boundaries and finding my voice. I took a couple of hours learning the English that I'm talking, communicating now. And with this, I got to meet people that brought me into a world of imagination and a world of presensing the realities and changing the narrative around the kind of life I want to live as a young man and the change I want to see in the community. It's not about me creating a change only. It's about me impacting change that creates sustainable change. So I met Arda Sharma from the MIT and learned about the U Lab Presensing and Leading from the Emerging Future. I met Liza Loeb in the US, who's running a community organization as well, a nonprofit that centers around education. As a passionate of education, alternative education, and low-tech club, indigenous know-how, I found this a valuable resource for me to learn and acquire the skills. Being mentored by her, I founded this project, and I'll call it a community organization that centers around nurturing relationships and preserving the appropriate know-how to help people become self-reliant, to help people create solutions to their own problem. I see this being a potential of what the world now needs, rather than being dictated on what the solution should be. There's a lot going on with climate change, and I don't see anybody saying, well, rather than going on COP26, COP27, I want my community to adapt to the traditional knowledge, of believing in their own indigenous knowledge and creating sustainable change through that. I don't see that happening. And that inspired me a lot to say, well, I'm going to equip people with simple dialogues to talk about what you already know and what you can use, like how we can use that know-how to create change. And this is a call to everybody out there. This is a call to international organizations. We don't have to create new innovations. How about looking at the on-ground work happening on a community level and simply invest our time, effort, mentorship, and support, be it financial or any other kind of support? My hope in 5 years to come is seeing 1,000 low-tech clubs, 1,000 clubs of young people talking about indigenous know-how and appropriate technology. Thank you.
Whoa, that is spectacular. All right, cool. I would just like to kind of pull you back if there's anything else you would like to add to that 2-minute video. If you're still with us, or if you can hear me loud and clear.
Thank you, Lai. And hi, everybody. Hi. The only thing I'd like, maybe one thing I'd love to add would be the question. I'm sorry, I didn't throw it quickly. And to me, the question that pops up with my story is, how can individuals who have experienced displacement like me, find ways to navigate and transcend the boundaries imposed by, their displacement? While also keeping the identities. One thing true is there's a complex understanding of how identity, layers keep adding on who we are. And there's a sense of, losing who you are just because you fled the country and, trying to find refuge in another country where you have to adapt to cultural changes and any other kind of change. And so I see alternative education as what somebody really needs, in the sense that it doesn't just give you creativity, it also helps you to sit into the adaptive, you're so quick to adapt, you're there open, open mind, open heart, and open will. So you don't have to go through, what I now call, well, we all go through trauma, but if you've got this sense of openness to say, well, this is a new place, but a place where I want to flourish. So you sit there and try and adapt. And what helps you really is when there's you, but there's also narcissist support, people holding you, people encouraging you into what you're doing. So Liz, I think Liz is here. Lisa found me on one call and she told me, do you want to work with me? And I wanted to listen to what she has in mind. And I realized she was the old me. So I could see what I envisioned to be happening. And somebody just talking. And what moved me so much is that she's been thinking about this for 40, 30, more than 2 or 3 decades. And so from there, I got committed. The only one word I'd like to point out there, I think displacement is something that is inevitable, in a way that there's a lot that might make you got yourself displaced. Could be natural disaster, but adaptability and appropriate know-how is really, what we need to think about deeply and act upon it. Thank you.
Amazing. That's just that's a perfect summary, basically. Some of the key words that I picked up from you, Fiston, is talking about from refugee to activist. Amazing, digging into your environment and starting to do something about it. The fact that you learned, your language, and you learned the language in English, and all of that whole process of going through that, not a very easy thing to do, while trying to settle down and wonder what's next at the same time, whilst trying to maintain your environment and make the best of your environment. I know it all sounds like blah, 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 blah. Over here, I run a program, an English program with the State Department here. So I understand what it's like mentally for minorities who are trying to get through all of this and of course, maintain the environment and also think of their future. Mind blown. Indigenous know-how, incredible. And the MIT Migration Forum always does this. There's always after conversations to be had. Essentially, Indigenous know-how, I'm a big fan of that, and I would love to talk to you more about all of that in time. Home-driven solution and Indigenous know-how connects to climate change and traditional knowledge, which is a portfolio that I'm basically really zoning in at the moment. So lots of post conversations to be had. I am sure I'm potentially running out of time, but really, thanks for that super summary. And there is a link on the site for anyone to hit up the Low Tech Club. I'll be doing the same. From the keywords I've heard today, I'm sure that Fiston is doing the right thing and will do the right thing with any supports that that's sent over to back him. We will potentially move on to the next if my moderators would allow me. We're moving on immediately to Patricia. Am I correct? Just give me a thumbs up if I am good. Patricia Vuvu is a person who super duper embrace. I love the word super duper. I just, when you're talking about really cool people, the least you can do is just put super duper before what they do. So she embraces positivity and aims to help others with the knowledge, skills, and experiences that she has gathered over time. She holds an Associate of Arts degree with a global focus on business from the Southern New Hampshire University. She obtained an introduction to computer science and programming using Python and computational thinking and data science with MIT React program. That is such a mouthful. It's a good thing I'm used to this program, the MIT React program. Otherwise, I think I would have flunked that one. Big interest in motivating others to keep using a growth mindset as a tool. Love that, Patricia. Each one teaches one, and everyone is on this journey together to assist, comprehend, and celebrate each other's success, no matter how small or how big it is, like we will be doing most of today. Patricia also believes that this can be done once we acknowledge that the errors of the past cannot stop us from bringing about change today for tomorrow. From realizing the beauty that awaits to be embraced by anyone that chooses to enjoy the life of a creative growth mindset. This keeps opening doors to new innovation. That sounds like a poem. And actually, Patricia will be telling a story in the form of a song, which she will introduce herself. Yes, Patricia, I will give the floor for you to introduce the song.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Lai. The song, it's a wonderful thing that I was doing with Mariki, and I'm so privileged to write this song. It's telling the story. It's a story of humanity, and please, I hope everyone enjoys it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Lee. Firstly, we're going to put an introductory video of Patricia, and then we'll play the song. And just for anyone who is in the audience that has questions, either for Fiston, Patricia, or the others, we're going to have a Q&A section by the end. Okay, so please feel free to start writing your questions over there, or just keep them to the end of the session. Okay, so without further ado, let's hear this introductory video and then the song. Very excited for it.
My name is Patricia Vuvu. I'm a Southern New Hampshire University student. I'm also an MIT React alumni for 2022. It's a privilege, it's an amazing opportunity that has been given to people like myself to be able to present, and I'm just so grateful. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm just here to share that storytelling is important, and have to keep sharing our stories and being able to create a positive space where we can all be a voice for change. It's important. All I say is we all require documentation for people that are labeled as refugees, migrants, so that they are able to find employment, they are able to travel, have businesses freely, and that must be a global documentation that recognizes them as human beings wherever they are, whether they are from whatever country and they are in a different country. But at the same time, the global documentation should be able to protect them and provide them and give them the right to be able to stay focused and keep impacting people positively, because our mind needs to keep being healthy in order for us to keep growing. And once again, I'm privileged to have this experience. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. And we'll shortly listen more about Patricia. But first, I'm going to show the song that has been written by herself and Marika Slobin, who's part of the organizing committee of the Migration Summit.
I love when we are given the space to share a story. It wakes up the feeling in you when you tell your truth. There's a lesson in everyone's story, even if it's sad. There's an energy I see, a light inside. Share your story far and wide, find your voice, you decide. Share your story, you will see, there's no difference, you and me. The way that we we can be free. No matter where we are from, we all deserve to belong. Don't label me a refugee, just sing with me. Share your story far and wide, find your voice, you decide. Share your story, you will see, there's no difference, you and me. I'm trying to sing a message from my heart. Stereotypes, they set us apart. There's a different approach that we can bring. No matter where we're from, we are human beings. I love when we are given the space to share a story. It wakes up a feeling in you when you tell your truth, tell your story.
Amazing. Just silent claps. I'll take all. I'll do all the claps for everyone. Amazing, Patricia. That was super cool. I actually was just kind of chilled out by the end of that. Honest truth. So yeah, just give us a summary of everything we just basically discussed, including the track that was just played. And I would just love for you to zone in on that word, opening doors, and creative growth mindset to open doors to new innovation. Very important in terms of a creative growth mindset. I think I know where you're coming from, but it would be great to explore that for everyone on our call today.
Thank you very much, Lai. Thank you once again, everyone, for giving me this space. It is, for me, very crucial, firstly, to say that we are all human beings, instead of saying, okay, because you're from country A and I'm from country B, you are visiting my space or you are coming to my space, I need to label you. That already places something in that person's mind. They say, I don't belong. That already builds, before even you say, oh, this person's being racist, for example, this person's putting me down, you yourself, you already build a block. And that stops you from being positive, from seeing where you are. There are positivity, there are opportunities that, yes, you can find ways to enable you, but because you already are unaccepted, firstly from yourself, and then when you come into a space where you also see things that was in your mind, so you carry on with that sort of lifestyle. So my message is, there is positivity, but we need to keep creating spaces and let people be aware of those spaces for our mindset, for us as human beings. I don't even want to be called or labeled as a refugee. I'm first a person. I'm a human being. So I would like, honestly, a global documentation that says whether I'm from country A or country B, but as long as I'm from country A, I'm coming to visit country B, that global documentation should cover me, whether I need to travel, whether I need to make a business while I'm still being on the waiting list to receive country B's documentation. But I should have some sort of already a coverage that enables me to be free. And also, it's not just also about documentation, our mindset. We hear a lot of stories about what's happening. I don't want to use this word again. People on the move, yes, people on the move. It is not good. So finding proper creative ways to help people to come out of their shell, to find ways to solve the issues that they had faced in the past, or some of us even they were carrying on things that happened maybe 20 years ago, but we don't know how to carry on. Maybe there's something good in front of us, but you can give us the document, yes, in front of us, but
that thing inside of us is blocking us from seeing the good. So my message is just that let us all come together and keep creating positive space to help all of us. And that's why I said, I utilize my skills, I utilize my little experience to help others also see hope, to help others to see change and keep growing. Yes, and the song came about because of that message. And I'm so grateful for MIT. Thank you, Maraki. Thank you, thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Patricia. And yeah, I really can't reiterate the importance of MIT. Since I hooked up with the guys in Jordan, I don't know how many years ago, Lorraine. It's just incredible, the pipeline and the people and I feel like we're going to be sitting in, I don't know if there's going to be a UN or whatever institution will be there in 5 or 10 years or 15 years, but I feel like we'll be in that building, whatever that building is, and I guarantee you 60-70% would have come through MIT or MIT Reacts basically. And I'm not just saying that, I'm a geopolitical analyst. So this is based on thinking, I mean, we've got Patricia and everybody that has spoken to that, and even the organizing crew, etc. The love and the passion that goes into this, and then that goes into the continuation of arranging the next year, as well as everything else that MIT Reacts is doing in between. It's just incredible. So yeah, a shout out to you, Patricia, and again, shout out to MIT React for what you do and how you do it and how you continue to do it. I will move on to our next guest speaker for the day. Toumany Sidibe is an English teacher and a social worker. He has a master's degree in translation studies and a master's degree in social work at the National Institute of Training Social Workers. Hats off. He received a certificate of completion from the Meridian International Center in 2019, and in 2023 at the end of the Pan-African Leadership Program in the United States. A very, very interesting program. He's 37 as of now. He's married, back off. Toumany likes reading, traveling, and meeting new people. He's fond of the American culture. I can understand why you're at the Pan-African Leadership Summit last year then, Toumany. Toumany, I will give the floor to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Toumany Sidibe. I come from Mali. I'm a Malian. So I'm also an English teacher in a private high school. I'm also a volunteer in our local social service. I am 37 years old. I am married. So today I want to describe my job as a volunteer and my job as a volunteer, as a teacher in my school. So in our local social service, I go there to help the civil servant to ameliorate the living condition of the poor people. So there, I was in charge to receive the refugees and the displaced person, to register their name and their needs, and to send this information to the official in order to let them take measure and to solve the problem of the refugees and the displaced person. So this is one of my tasks in our local social service. So I do many other things like help the orphans and try to ameliorate their living conditions. So I do many things at the local, at our local service social. So in my school, it is a private high school. So we have also many students from displaced families. And the story I want to tell you today is the story of one of my students. One day, he came to me and he explained me his problem. All the time, the students come late, and most of the time he misses classes. And when I asked him, he told me that he comes from a displaced family and things are not easy for him. And I asked him why. He told me that he lives very far from the school and he doesn't have any means of transportation to get to school easily. He told me also that his parents are jobless and they don't have enough money to pay his transportation in order to let him come to school and to follow normally the courses. So when he explained me his situation, I went to see the school principal and I explained him his situation. And he told me that many other students are in the similar situation. And the first things I do, so I organize a special course for them on the weekends in order to permit him and all the students who are in the similar situation to follow courses weekend. And I invited all my kids to do the similar thing. So all the weekend, all Saturday, we organize courses for them in order to ameliorate their condition at school. And after each term, we noticed that these helped them to ameliorate their school results. And so thanks to our action, I can say that students from the displaced family do better at school and they have better grades than in the past. But we are facing another problem. This is the problems of their living conditions. So if they come to school, most of them don't have means to eat at school. So we have this problem. And the school also has no means in order to take in charge their food at school. So if they come to school in the morning, they are obliged to spend all day at school without eating. And the situation upsets us, and we want to find solution to this problem. So I'm very glad to present in front of you in order to share this information with all of you and to invite all the partners to invest in this kind of situation. So we can teach, we can organize private class for them, but find food for them is very difficult for us because we have family to feed, so we don't have enough money also to feed the students who are from the displaced family. So this is the story I want to share you today and to invite all of you to pay attention to the situation of the students who are living in this kind of situation. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
Incredible. I'm seeing type messages, goosebumps. Do we have Toumany online live and clear to kind of, if there's anything else you would like to add or remove before we fully engage you? You're on mute. I couldn't wait to say that. I thought it was never going to happen on this call. You're on mute, Toumany. It's still on mute. I don't think he's picking up that he's on mute.
Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm very happy to be here today with you to share my story with all the audience. So you said all things about myself, my biography, my education, my background. So I appreciate it a lot. So you have been faithful. Thank you very much. No yeah, just to add that Mali is one of the West African countries, so it is a poor country. And currently, the north of our country, there is problem between ethnic and jihadist problems. So in the south, now our schools are full of students who are from the northern region. So it is not easy for us to take in charge the needs of all these students. And the government also is best to ameliorate the living condition of the displaced family, but I think that this is not enough. And the domain where I am is education. So we say that the future of a nation is the young. So I think that it will be better to take into account their need and to try to solve problems and to try to find solution to their problems. So at our level in my school, we do our best in order to ameliorate their school results. But I think that other partners can invest in foods, how to let them eat at school and other things. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks, Toumany. I'm going to take a bit of time on this. And again, you know, the MIT Migration Summit just blows things away. Very rarely you hear in congregation and conversations within the migration context that you hear people zone into the west of Africa in the context of Niger, Mali, etc. So it's very exciting and very, very actually, you know, encouraging to hear Toumany and what they're up to in Mali. Mali is pretty important for everyone and in the context of migration and what's going on in North Africa and the emerging and all of the migration crises in the context of Libya, Niger, Mali, etc. I think what Toumany has said here is very, very simple. They're doing the best they can locally to support young people and young children going to school. Others need to step up in the context of the wraparound supports for those young people in the context of transportation and in the context of the living conditions and then in the context of nutrition. If I'm correct, Toumany, I think I got that right. And you know, this is a special session and I really hope it doesn't stop at this. I will make some notes from what each of the participants have said, and I will follow up in the context of just a block point of what's important from what everyone said and what potential actions can be taken to at least do something, and then let's see how that goes next year when we all convene again. For Mali, I mean, you're quite clear in terms of transportation barriers, living conditions, and nutrition for young people. That should be happening already. And you know, I hope you do get the support to make something happen as fast as possible. You made your case very clearly. And same goes for Patricia and for Fiston as well, in the context of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve. Trust me, guys, this is not going to go down a hole somewhere. You know, we are, I will definitely, and Lorraine is here somewhere. She knows that I'm going to do that and I will bug her on it. She's one of the organizers, so she knows I'm going to stalk her on this. I'm taking her. Anyway, cool. I'm not going to take much time. Toumany, rest assured, we got this, we're listening, and a lot more people are listening behind the scenes, and I'm sure they will reach out to the MIT Reacts crew as to what and how, if they can do anything. We will move very swiftly to our next speaker. I've been told to move on to Schaddy, if I'm correct. Schaddy, if I'm correct, yeah. So Schaddy Kabila is a refugee from the Republic Democratic of Congo. been living in the Zeleke refugee camp for more than 10 years. A diploma in liberal studies with a concentration on social work from the Regis University. Having worked in the field of social work for many, many years. And currently a volunteer for the Red Cross in Malawi, specifically on the program with restoring family links, a very, very special program within the Red Cross globally. I know the guys here in Ireland are very proud of the Restoring Family Links program that they run. Additionally, she is the co-founder of Agapao Foundation, a non-profit charity based organization that works to reduce the viral transmission of HIV/AIDS and of course to fight against the stigma and the prejudice faced by people with HIV and AIDS survivors, if I correct myself. Very passionate about making a positive difference in the lives of refugees and of course those who are affected by HIV/AIDS. I will now leave the floor for Schaddy Kabila.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited today to be one of the storytellers for the second Migration Summit. I'm Schaddy Kabila from the Republic of Democratic Congo. I'm a refugee. Currently, I live at Zeleke refugee camp for more than 10 years. I came at Zeleke refugee camp as an accompanied child. So I did my studies and started my professional career in Zeleke refugee camp. Currently, I work with Malawi Red Cross as a Restoring Family Links volunteer. I'm also a co-founder of a community, a non-profit charity community-based organization, namely Agapao Foundation. Agapao, it is right word that stands for doing the right thing at the right time to the right reason. So the organization was established to fight against the viral transmission of HIV in the community and fight against the stigma and prejudice that face the HIV survivors. I came here as an accompanied child without hope that I'll have a good tomorrow. Staying in the camp like a prisoner, no more chances for you to move forward. You don't have hope. You don't think about what tomorrow is going to bring you. At first, I used to cry. I used to think that how my future going to be. Being a refugee is not an identity that people should take that I'll remain with the refugee, I'll be like a refugee, and I'll never move forward. So I understood the situation that it's there. I can't change it. It's there. I'm a refugee, but I can change my tomorrow. I need to stand up. I need to walk. Because for you to reach somewhere, you need to walk. So if you don't walk, you stay at the same place. So we understand the situation and you stand up, you move forward. So I understood the situation. I'm a refugee. Let me start moving on. I stood up. I started volunteering with Plan International. People had to laugh at me that you are now as a slave for Plan. People even give me a name that Plan, when you pass, they call you Plan International because that time I had the passion. But it's not only about the passion, but it's about the goal that I had and the determination that I had that no, I want to be somewhere. I shouldn't look at what people are telling me. I shouldn't look at what people are saying. Let me move on. So I started volunteering. I had no English, zero English. So my colleague refugees could have mocked me, could have laughed at me that, what kind of English are you speaking? But I remember one word that came from my boss, Aaron, who said, all of you guys, for you to be an interpreter, you were not born interpreters, but you all learned to be interpreters. You also learn from this work. And then tomorrow, after tomorrow, you also be a good interpreter. Then I started working. But inside me, I had that determination. I had the goal. I started working with a lot of challenges. People could laugh at me, but I worked hard. I worked really hard. I had to go start learning English, and then I started moving forward. I worked with them for 2.5 years. So everyone was like, from where you are coming, you did not know how to speak English. And today you are working with UNHCR. That's so amazing. And I was like, I had a dream. I was determined to reach where I am. I couldn't listen to what people is telling about me, because if I could have give my ears to what people is saying, I couldn't move forward. And then I started volunteering. I've worked with almost all the big organizations that are saving refugees here in the camp. And not only where I did not limit myself besides volunteering. I started the event planning. Then I had to move out of the camp now. Despite the legal restriction which was there that refugees are not allowed to go outside, I took a risk to go and start volunteering outside the refugee camp. Now it's no longer volunteering. They are paying me. When they take me out, they provide everything and they pay me. So meaning to say, being a refugee, I did not look at who I am as a refugee, but I look at what I possess, what I had inside me. I try to share this story first to make one refugee who is thinking that he cannot do anything in life. Being a refugee should not be your limit to say, I can't do anything. I want to encourage my fellow refugees, understand the situation, stand up, move forward, believe in yourself, have goals, and be determined to do something. To my decision makers who make sometimes decisions for us refugees, try also to assess us and know what we really need. Try to empower refugees in terms of job opportunities that will make them, and you will see, try refugees, you will understand that they are not just useless people, but they are people who can take or change the economy of the country. They can change a lot that you can't believe. So for this, I thank you, and I hope that you will not just listen to this, but you also take an action. Thank you all for listening to my short story. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks, Schaddy. Take action, don't limit yourself, etc. If you are online, if there's anything you would like to add or remove from what you've just said, we're on standby.
Right, thank you so much. I'm sorry that my network is not that strong, so I won't be able to use my camera. So I'll just retell my story in short. I'll just start by something that we always say, only the sky is the limit. So most of people say it, but they don't know sometimes how to use it. So in other words, based on my story as a migrant, I came to understand that there is no limit to human potential, and that anything is possible if one sets the mindset to it. So there is no limit to human potential. So personally, I was like, I can't do this. I came to Zareka with zero English. As I shared my story, I started with Plan International, as an interpreter with Plan International with zero English. But I'm always grateful to Mr. Aaron. I'm sorry to mention his name, Aaron Sona, who always tell my colleagues that the work you are doing today, you also learn it. So learning it's a process. Give him time, you also you'll perform well. So I always dream to say, okay, in my future, I always dream to be a humanitarian and a event planner. So because I was dreaming and I understand that there is no limit to my potential, but what I need is to go after the dream and be determined. And perseverance pays, because today some people calls me to work with as an event planner, where people pay me. It's not like I'm going there for free; they go and pay me. So I was like dreaming to be an event planner. I dreamed to be an interpreter, but I was like perseverant and determined, and I've never give up on my dreams. I know I haven't even reached half of my way, but I'm sure with the dream I have, with the determination I have, with the perseverance I have, and I always strive to reach for it, for the stars. I always reach. So in short, this is what I can retell from the story as to make it short. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Just to the audience, you can start throwing out the questions to every one of our speakers, either individually or collectively. We can start gathering that whenever you feel. So, Schaddy, you mentioned, planning for the future and walking towards your future and taking chances and making things happen without waiting and taking the risks. Very interesting. I would just like to, where do you see yourself today? Where do you see yourself in 6 months, in a year, or in 5 years' time? Whichever one you're comfortable answering, it'll be very interesting to get your take.
Okay, yeah, there's two words that I always dream to be. I want to be a humanitarian because saving people is always on my heart. So one day I wish to come back working maybe for UNHCR as a protection just to serve refugees, because I understand, I know what to be a refugee and what to be an immigrant. So I always dream to be a humanitarian. Coming back, saving people in the refugee camp, and be an international event planner. So wherever there is an event, there is something, I need to go there, because I also feel comfortable, because when you are working as an event planner, you're also saving others. You to make them funny or to make them entertained, but you're always in the background waiting for it. So that's, in 5 years, I dream to be a humanitarian and an event planner.
Interesting. So yeah, event planning. So drinking coffee and getting nervous backstage. Exciting, but I'm sure you know why you want to do this. And essentially, I see that as basically the market developer in the context of doing the right thing and making sure enough people know how to do the right thing when you're talking about humanitarian events and gathering. Toumany, Patricia, I'd like to throw a question out to you, to you guys as well. How do you feel, or how would you express people feel when they're labeled as a refugee? I don't want to throw that question to Schaddy, considering everything you said about trying to break that identity by all means necessary. But to Toumany and to Patricia, how do you think, how does it make you feel when you're labeled as a refugee? And are there any suggestions? Is there any other terms people should be using, or, what is your take?
Okay, can I take the floor?
Oui.
Can I take? Yeah, okay. So I think that generally refugees we meet are hopeless today, because when they come here in the south, there is no where they can express themselves. This is a feeling of refugees.
But I think we're losing your audio. There might be something up with the mic. If you have a check. In the meantime, Fiston, that's open to you as well, Fiston. Just FYI, I'm not sure if you picked up all of that question, so I'll hit you up after Patricia.
Can you hear me?
Yep, sounds good, but it's breaking off a bit, but keep going.
Okay. So I was telling that the refugees we meet are hopeless, because when they come in the southern parts, they don't find here the right environment which can help them to find job, to find houses, and to find health. So most of them are living in the bad condition. Even when we go to meet them in order to record or register their need, they told us that they want to go back again to the northern part, because they prefer even to be killed than to live in the poor condition. So I'm very, I can say, worried about this situation, because I see that they don't have much hope in order to continue to fight and to have a better living condition.
So, labeling or not, it's a very difficult time in the context of the position where people are. It's so bad. People would rather take the chance to head back to the north of Africa and start all over again. You're not the first person that I've heard that from in 1 week. I was talking to colleagues in Uganda and Rwanda, and they ask similar questions of contacts on the ground through basic conversation, and that really is what came back. It's so bad. Whatever the UK does, I'm gonna take that trip again if I get the chance. And this is what the context of Mali and the importance of one of the few points we talked about earlier: wraparound supports and ensuring people who are on the ground, young people, families, refugees who are on the ground, need to be well taken care of in terms of the wraparound supports, and ensure this doesn't keep happening over and over again. And this is what this conversation is about. And I assure you, it's definitely going to go further from this. Fiston, Patricia, I'd love to get your take on this as well. Toumany has mentioned, labeling or not, the environment is just so awful that people will continue and would risk their life to continue to be refugees to get to a better way of life. I would love to get your take in the context of the labeling. Is it correct, or should we be finding new ways and new terms for people? Fiston, I see your hand up.
Yes, please. May I ask that you repeat the question again? I think I'm lost a few parts of it.
The question is about labeling and the word refugees. Is it acceptable or unacceptable, or should we be thinking of new terms to address people? Tsunami, refugee or not, his answer is, the situation is so awful, people will remain refugees or die trying to get out of an awful position. I would love to get your take in the context of labeling.
I think this is what my answer would be is generally from my own perspective, what I understand, my lived experience. Because one thing I must be sure is this would definitely depend on on everybody, and it goes with the level of resilience one has been able to build, in their lives. So labeling, I will tell you, some people use that as brands, to promote themselves, to scale themselves up. And some people just use that as, something that, crushes them down. A little of a context is being a refugee. Even the media says, I read lots of news about refugees, and there is a sense of being disregarded. There's a sense of being regarded, looked at small, simply because somebody shifted this place to the other place. And we see this in almost every aspect of life on a day-to-day basis. Let me give you a very short story. I worked in a bank during the pandemic. So I had my hand sanitizer. I worked in a bank. A guy approached me and spoke in English and said I wasn't allowed to be in a bank without being sanitized. So I used my hand sanitizer. Despite that, he never wanted to let me in. He said, let me see your ID. I handed my ID, and he found out I'm a refugee. I was denied entrance. And he clearly said to me, "You're a refugee, you're not allowed to be here." I said, "So because I'm a refugee, I've got no right to withdraw money." He said, "That's not my point. My point is, if you're a refugee, then you need to be in the camp." He said, to me, that's how I look at the label. I wasn't labeled, and then I wouldn't take a label of refugee as a good one. It's such a negative, and it crushes someone, and there's a sense of rage that comes with it when someone calls you refugee. But here's another way.
I have been able to build resilience and give it a smile when somebody calls me a refugee. Not in a way that I'm being looked at as a small thing, a small stuff in the society, but I've been able to use that word to look at refugee in a much broader context to say, well, look, here's the fact. I don't want to believe in the stereotypes or the scenarios that, refugee aren't really that people that are worth, I think everybody, has got somewhere in some parts in their lives being a refugee. And so to me, labeling, refugee doesn't affect me that negatively. I'm more positive when I'm called a refugee. And this is an invitation, guys. I think we're all invited as climate change is going on, this much global warming, lots of stuff happening in the world. Yeah. Do you even perceive everyone running? We're actually running. We're on a race. We are all being called to be refugees. So in that way, yeah, I'm not negatively impacted.
Super. Well said, Fiston. It's like, wow, mic drop. Everyone's a refugee, whether they like it or not, or whether we like it or not, in the context of the global climate change crisis. I guess we don't really need to redefine that term. We're all refugees, basically. Patricia, what's your take?
Thank you. My take on that terminology is it started off, if I can say, as a positive, because when someone comes to a different country, they see the other country as a place of safety. But it has turned around to being negative because of the circumstances, because of the reality that they started facing. So the problem here we need to say is the humanity. It's not a refugee, it's not immigration or migrant, we just need to stop labeling people, especially. It's just, we are people, we all have challenges, no matter where we are from. For example, give example people who grew up out of their country. I'm from DRC, but I grew up in South Africa. So I call South Africa as my home, but someone else will say, no, you don't belong here. But at the end of the day, what message am I saying? I'm saying the message is, you can label me anyhow, but I am still a human being as you are. I'm accepting myself, and that's the message that I'm going to keep bringing. The message of saying, let's carry on being positive and taking away the stereotype, taking away the labeling, because that doesn't do us any good. Let's remove that. For me, yes, let's remove that label. Let's put the terminology of saying we are all just people and we have challenges. Whether it's a challenge of moving from a different country, it could be something else. But at the end of the day, we are human beings, and let's find solutions to carry on being resilient, to carry on finding positive and initiative things to help us to grow. Thank you.
Amazing. Well said. I am looking to see if you have any questions from the audience, but in the meantime, I really want to address the language aspect of things, because I think it connects a few of us on the panel here. I mean, what are your thoughts about the power of learning languages? How many languages would you have to learn in the space of, let's say, a year or 2 years in the context of a displaced environment? I know, there are probably people listening going, what does that even mean? In the context of Africa, it means a lot. So I'd like to throw the question open to my panel. Languages and the power of learning languages. Do you have any advice for displaced people, and how would you advise anyone trying to navigate picking up a new language while dealing with its multiple layers of everything? Who wants to take that first? I'm not going to point to Patricia again, to Toumany, Fiston. Silence. All right, I'm going to just let Patricia go. I can see you moving and stuff. So. Right.
Thank you. Sorry, you mean like the importance of language, of learning languages?
Yeah. In the context of migration and refugee camps and moving onwards, and the plan to move onwards.
It is extremely important for each of us, for example, to learn, let's say, the local languages, for example. I'm giving myself as an example. If I was a person who would carry on blocking myself, saying, I'm not accepted here, I'm not in South Africa, for example, because I'm living in South Africa, I will not give myself the ability to learn the language. I will not accept the people. It's not just also about the language. For you to learn the language, you need to love where you are or accept where you are. And also allow yourself to make friends with the people that you find and grow. But if you think that learning that language is not important or is not going to benefit you, you're already blocking yourself. So it is extremely important for each of us to just learn. For example, I would love to learn any language that my mind opens or my heart opens to. So yes, it is extremely important. Thank you.
Well said. I have a really important question that's just come through from the audience. This is around wraparound support. We're talking about the challenges Toumany is facing in Mali. Is wraparound support a way to make school curriculum more relevant? Should How to Survive in Your Home context be used as a curriculum or as part of a curriculum, if I get this right? So How to Survive. I think wraparound support in the context of the conversation is ensuring that the government, private sector, and potentially philanthropy and the right organizations get on the ground as best as possible to provide in terms of food, in terms of shelter, in terms of additional resources that the kids might need or that families might need. If I'm correct, Toumany, when we mention wraparound support, is that what that implies?
Yeah, yes, I want to say that actually we have some NGOs who sometimes try to bring food. So we work together. I can cite World Vision. I remember they came to school to discuss with the staff about the problem displaced students are facing, and we mentioned the problem of food to them. And I remember last year, during 1 month, so they brought food. This was their contribution to the school. And we did have NGOs can do the same things. Yeah, we can do the same things. But I think that this is a really important question. So we can try at our level also to find local partners, NGOs, and to share the problem with them and try to solve the problem of food at our school. Yeah.
Superb. So basically to the audience member, our wraparound support is not really in the context of a school curriculum. What wraparound support would mean is providing the additional services that the mother, children, family unit would need to ensure that they're well integrated and they're able to attend academic settings with peace of mind. So the extra books, the extra food, the pocket money, the pack lunch, the wraparound support that keeps our family unit together. And I'm really looking forward to talking more about that with Mali and with our colleagues out there. Questions? I think we're talking about languages and who else needs to jump on that? Toumany, Fiston, have you jumped on this in terms of the context of languages and the importance of learning the new languages and how hard it is as well? And what advice do you
have? Actually, I think my own personal story falls in right here. I learned English, like the English I'm speaking now is 80% YouTube videos. It sounds amazing. It sounds mind-blowing. I speak English, I interpret, I write in English, and people go, you speak a good English. Wow. And they don't, like, they kind of believe I think I went to a school, I graduated from a university. So I learned my English from YouTube videos. Like 20% could be attending some of the sessions online and offline, but 80% is actually YouTube videos. So watching people speaking, listening to speeches, and learning phonology and words and how words are pronounced. How is this? Let me to bring in a reminder. Today, well, oftentimes, even my own, like back then in Congo, there is a sense of judging somebody's, ability or intelligence by how they speak. So I see people being disregarded, people being neglected just because they can't speak, that particular language. Today, if I landed in Dubai and I can't utter any words in Arabic or English or Kiswahili, there will be a lot of misunderstanding, and that doesn't create peace. So I think one key reason why learning learning any language actually is important. It's because you want to adapt, to that specific place where you are. Could be learning, cultures, and also, letting people learn from you. People learn from you if you are able to communicate. So communication, information, all this is through, like, brings us into a way to say it's important to learn a language, And how hard is it? It is in the camp where I am. It used to be hard 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It used to be hard, and it's still getting hard. But I think there are a lot of initiatives of young people, being involved in making sure that people are learning English, because English being a business language, English being a language that unites the 7 nationalities where I am in. I taught English. After learning my English, I started teaching English. I taught about 250 young people who've opened up, English centers to teach others. So first of all, I didn't learn English because I just wanted to be famous. I didn't to brag about it. I learned English because to me it was so important to impart the knowledge that I have to other people. So I don't speak Eritrean, I don't speak Somali language, but it was so easy to teach Somali English. And after we learn English, then I'm able to learn what Somali culture is through English. So I think it's really, really important in that context that you want to change, you want to be changed, you want to learn, and you want to teach, you want to share. Language is really essential and critical.
Incredible stuff. More questions. Thanks for that. Very, very concise and pretty straight to the point. In terms of best practice and sharing knowledge and between all 4 of our panelists, do you think it would help to streamline the process? And what are you guys doing in the context of trying to help to streamline any process or any learnings or any good practice that you have? What are you doing, and how are you doing it in the context of sharing the best practice? And if it's not being done, how do you see that happening? And I'd like to bring Schaddy into this as well. Please, the floor is yours. How do you see us all working together in the context of sharing what works, and leveraging what works and making and scaling it, basically? Is that happening right now, or how can it be done if it's not being done? And if it's being done, is it being done correctly? Go for it. I will start with Schaddy. You still, Schaddy here? All right, cool. I'll move to Toumany or Fiston, if you want to step in.
Could you give me a bit more context about that, please?
So, for example, you talked about English language. What are the opportunities that you see? What are the best practices that you see from what you've done? You mentioned working with young people and those young people going on to do things. What did you learn from that? What's the best practice from that can be shared with other partners in other countries or with humanitarian organizations within your space? Is that happening? And if it's not happening, how can it happen? And if it is happening, how can it happen better, basically? So feel free to attempt as you see fit.
Maybe what I'd love to bring to our attention is how knowledge is being shared, how information, is also being shared. That's one of the two key, things I'd love to put into that context. Me, first of all, me learning English, teaching English, and letting other people teach English. It wasn't only one identified need. Like I didn't do this on my own. This is something I realized because I also wanted to, socialize with other people. And I realized this was, one of the missing thing, and the need in the community. So it was an initiative we brought, and people went on. Now we have more than 100 English centers in Naki Valley. And from English centers, the impact is I see people being employed as interpreters. I see people traveling to urban cities to go and build their lives out there. I simply see young people building connections. I could randomly get a call here and say, hey, you taught me English, you remember? And I'm like, okay, you are needed somewhere, you could interpret, and you get given some, some dollars to live by. So I see that as one way, but also, and this is something I'm always interested in. Actually, Liza shared a link to a community platform that I long to promote and to see people, holding this seriously. How about simply a space where there are no bureaucracy, where everybody is free to pour themselves out there, be it in sharing the knowledge, be it expressing a need for a specific thing that you want to acquire. This, I will tell you, I registered, I was enrolled in Colorado University for some specific courses around psychology. And it was hard for me, not because I didn't have the internet. It was hard to navigate the courses. You know why? Because I think the courses was designed simply by a sophisticated learner, someone who's been in the elite population, someone who afforded to go to university, somebody that understands the curriculum. But it would be so much easier if somebody just went out there and started sharing 2 or 3 or 10 lines around psychology, and people could learn from it, read and discuss it. So I think it's really, really important that we standardize that and not making it adaptable, but making it fit the need in a specific context.
All right.
Yeah.
Sense, making it fit for purpose, basically. Toumany, Patricia, would you like to dive into this?
Yeah. I want to talk.
Go ahead.
Okay. So about language, I can say that here in Mali is a bilingual country. So we don't face the problem of language here. But anyway, we have some illiterate person who can find some difficulties to express themselves. It can be frustrated. So if we don't understand each other, most of them are demotivated. But I can say at this level that Mali is a bilingual country and we don't face this kind of problem. So I want to come back again to the previous questions. So I would like to tell also, most of the time, we have some guest speaker in our school for the refugees and for the other students. And me particularly, I used to invite guest speaker in my school and to read for example, for the student in English. Yeah, and even from the embassy, I invite the member or the guest speaker to my class in order to read a text to student in English. So I try to gather the family and the community together in the school and to share the problem in the school with them. And most of the time, people come in school in order to share the experience with the student and to try to give even some special courses to students. So this is what I want to say about the previous question.
Thank you. That's super practical. Patricia?
Thank you. How I can answer this, I'm going to use myself as an example. I help others by learning English by, for example, talking to them. I'm also an English tutor, and I'm a facilitator for personal development for women. Most of these women, they don't speak English as their first language. So for me, what I can say, what are the best practices based on what I found is the power of visualization. Just for example, as Fiston said, removal of bureaucracy. So be in a space, just give, for example, someone a topic, say English. What comes to mind? Visualize that language. What comes in your mind? It's like almost meditation in yoga, but it's not. You are letting them visualize it. And when they visualize it, immediately they put it maybe in drawing, in a song, in a poem, in their own way of understanding that language. Slowly but surely, that person will be moving forward into learning that English, that if it's English, because there is some sort of a system of how we are to learn. But at the end of the day, like I said, we are all human beings, but we all have our own way of learning. We all have our own way of bringing things across. So we also need to acknowledge that and see where else can we bring in something that is different, that will at the same time bring in a positive result. So power visualization must increase in us. Thank you.
Amazing. I think Schaddy has joined us as well. I just would like to give you the opportunity to say something if you're back online. Tell me he's not gone again.
Okay, I'll just try to add on what Fiston says on the language part. Learning language in another country, okay, in a Muslim country or refugee, where you are a refugee. I think it's so important for me. It's so important, and it also has an impact on one identity, one person's identity, because I came to understand that each language has a certain influence on our identity. It carries some stuff that can change your way of being. How as I said, I'm from Congo. I'm a refugee from Congo, and everyone knows that Congo is a francophone country where they just speak French and other languages like Swahili. So I came to Malawi. Malawi, they just speak. I fled my home country and found refugee in Malawi as where they just speak English and Chichewa and some other local languages. So it was so difficult for me to communicate. As I said in my story, I came with zero English. But I learned the language. First, it helped me communicating and find other jobs opportunity. But the more I was getting myself in English language, I come to discover that I'm slowly losing my identity from where I'm coming. So I'm trying to be a francophone an anglophone person than the way I was before. Because in our home country, like French people knows how they behave. They have their own ways of doing things. But any like the way they speak to people, the way they interact with people. Yet English, it's somehow different, and it has really shaped me, my identity as a person. So I think it's so important for one to learn a language, because it's also a way of communicating. And as a refugee, you are not just limited to be a refugee, but you also want to push and reach out your goals, because being a refugee doesn't make you to say, that's the end of the world, I will not do anything, then I'll just remain in the refugee camp. But tomorrow you have a dream. But how can you reach your dream? You need to interact with people. You need to adapt yourself to the languages that people speak. Like personally, I said, I'm now moving around Malawi as an event planner. Sometimes they call me for festivals, taking part. But at first, it was so challenging. When I go there, they send you, take this, I bring another thing, because I did not know the local language. Bring us this. Can you do this way? And I do another way. And at the end, the manager comes and I told you to do this. Why are you doing this? But I pretend to say, no, I forgot. I thought that you told me to do this. But the more now, like, let me learn now the language. And it's become so easy when they say, do this, I do it as they want. So that's why I say it's so important to learn the language, but it's also be very careful because it's also sometimes shape your identity. You're really who you are. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. A great point to end on. Learning language, but not losing who you are and your identity. And don't forget your grandma and your great-grandma and your great-great-great ancestors, etc. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. Before I wrap it up, some of the keywords that are bouncing around in my head are climate, traditional knowledge, low-tech club, language, wraparound support, employment, accommodation, etc. I think those keywords, I would just extract those and potentially have a follow-up with colleagues in MIT and the esteemed panel as well. I'd like to thank everyone who attended the session. Some serious listeners. I'm looking at the video and of course at the commentary. It's been a privilege to be in your virtual environment. If you would like to get in touch with any of the panelists as well as an attendee, you can of course use the email migrationsummit@mit.edu. That's migrationsummit@mit.edu, Echo Delta umbrella. We invite you to register and to join us for future sessions. This happens throughout the month, especially this month and the importance. There is another session from today at 12 p.m. The importance of the arts for migrants happening today. That sounds pretty therapeutic and spectacular. I'll leave it at that. On the dot, I think me and my esteemed panel will get 10 points for being on time. It's right on the dot. I'm looking at my handlers. I think we're doing okay.
Thank you, Lee, so much for the awesome moderation. Thank you, Patricia, Toumany, Fiston, Schaddy, for telling your stories, and we welcome you throughout the next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Same to you.